Hello again, and it's time for another project. Today we're going to cut out this nice Templar image on 3.6mm plywood. Now the idea on this one is to remove all the black sections, so it'll be a little delicate towards the end of the project, and then we will basically stick that down to a backer board which we will cut out the same shape. We'll probably use the washer method. I'll show you that later on in the video, to cut out a little framework all the way around. And you'll notice on this one here, I've gone down with a pencil and just literally just gone around it freehand, completing his boots there at the end, and all the way around the full piece, just to give us a bit of a framework. Because as you cut this out, the black sections, all you're left with is all that spare wood, should we say. So we need a framework so we can actually cut it out. So that didn't take a couple of minutes to do. And when we paint it, once we've cut the backer out, obviously, we'll paint the backer grey, maybe silver for the armour, and we'll put the red section in for the crosses there. And I believe there's one there, just left there on the arm. But obviously before that, we've got to cut it all out. Now, normal method for this is blue painter's tape. We did literally just line the full piece like that. We'll lift that up, line the full piece, spray it with a glue of your choice. There's different ones out there. I've seen people line these with clear sellotape, then glued it down. Everybody has their own little method. Normally in the past, I'll be quite happy to put carbon paper underneath there, and I could spend 5 minutes and draw that out straight onto the plywood. But we're going to use the old method of sticking it down onto painter's tape. Now the tape's looking a bit short. We might just make it there. So literally what I've just done, just to save on a bit of tape, is I've cut it out near enough the shape of the template, gone around with a pencil. We can flick that up, and that is the section we need to cover with the tape. So we're just saving a little bit of these sections here. Not a lot, but it might just be enough that we might just get it out of that. So we'll line it all first, glue it down. And then all these inner cuts, they will require pilot holes, because obviously we've got to get our blade into there somehow to remove all these sections. So I'll basically have a little drill set up on my flexi cable, which is attached to the Dremel, and that will be enough to draw my pilot hole. So we'll do all that first, and when we come back, we'll see about the blade we're going to use. Right, so we put our painter's tape on, we sprayed the glue, and we stuck the template down, and you can see from that we've drilled all our little pilot holes in there, remember, so we can feed the blade in and cut out the black section. Now there was enough tape left, and the only thing I've realised with cutting this out as it is, now I've sprayed the glue on, that's still a little bit tacky. Not a lot, that'll be dry. In fact, it's dry already now. This is a little bit tacky. So we're going to have to wait a minute or two for that dry. Whereas normally you would cover the full piece with your paper, and there was a reason for that. So I know for next time, not try and cut it out to save a bit of tape. Right, so now we're going to cut it out. For me personally, I use what they call spiral blades. Now spiral blades will cut in any direction, and the teeth are spiraled the full length. And when you feel your blades, to make sure they're in the right way in the saw, like so, they want to feel smooth on the way down, and you'll feel that roughness of the teeth on the way up. And that is the same with your other two blades. You get a pin blade. These come on your more cheaper saws, should we say, and then you get a pinless blade, which all your professional scroll saws use. I've tried both of these when I first started, and then I came across the spiral blades, and I just don't use these at all now. And I maybe should go back and give them a try. But with your pin blades, the only thing I've noticed, we've drilled our pilot hole. You've got really small sections like this one here. You're not going to fit that in there because your pins will be in the way. Any of these other ones, you can make a bigger hole. You can make that hole as big as you like, and also get your pin blade through. But obviously with these smaller areas, you might struggle, well, you will struggle to get your pinned in. So maybe not a pin blade project, this one, but definitely spiral and pinless. And with spirals, they do cut in any direction. So we could basically put that on our saw like so, feed that through there, should I say, and we could cut that out literally by doing that. Whereas your pinned one, you would have to cut down there, you turn the full piece, cut down there, turn it, cut, turn the full piece, cut it up, twist, turn, twist, and there's a lot of twisting and turning. Some people out there are just fantastic at it. I am not one of those. So I use spiral blades, and these are not for everybody. These take a lot more control and studying at the beginning, but once you get used to them, we can cut things out without thinking about it. Now normally on my projects I use a number 5 spiral. This one's actually a number 3 on there, if you can see that, and I've purchased a size 2, and I've never used this blade yet. I don't know if you can tell the difference when we put them close together. That's a 3 there, look, with the adapters on, and that's a 2. So I'm getting smaller and smaller with the blades, so it'll be interesting to see how this cuts. And I do find with spirals, the actual thicker the wood, the easier the control on the blade. This is 3.6mm, remember, so we're going to have to focus a bit. If not, they'll be running away on us. So we'll change this number 3 for a number 2. Unfortunately on my scroll saw, I do have to use these adapter clamps top and bottom, because my old saw in the corner only takes pin blades. Spiral blades are pinless, so these adapters are used. Basically just a little Allen key at the top there, undo that, put it onto your blade, feed that through your saw, through your wood, pop that on, and you're good to go. It's a bit more time consuming, but we make do with what we got. Right, let's set the first hole up. Always cut from your inside, just give me all that room to hold and work on. By that time, that glue is dry now, so that didn't take a couple of minutes, did it? We'll start cutting this one out. Alright, so we've got our Pegas number 2 set up in the scroll saw. Notice my little adapter clamp there, and there's one underneath as well. We've fed it through the pilot hole. We've got a nice little ping ping. That's the sound you want, just to make sure you've got your tension. My tension bar is right at the back of the saw. Most come on the top now, quick release ones. Right, I have not used these number 2 blades before. This is going to be my first time, so I should have maybe practiced a little bit, but I'm guessing one blade will just be like another. Let's just take our time. We'll take normal speed to start us off with, and then we can speed things up and start cutting this one out. Right, there's all our inner cuts done. We were doing well until the last section, as you've seen on that bit of video, literally going around here, and this piece broke off. But we salvaged it, we got glue, we've stuck it all back in place, and I certainly have no issues with that, hopefully. Normally, with delicate sections like this, you can put in the original piece that we've cut out from underneath, put that back in place, and then put clear tape over the top, just to secure it all a bit better while you cut out these delicate areas. Because I was filming and whatever, I basically just thought I'll take my chance, and it didn't work out, so this piece broke off altogether. But it's back in place now, no panic. That's why they invented glue. So that's all sorted now. So the next stage for me, I'm going to cut this out completely. Just follow our lines all the way around. You have two options with these kind of projects regarding your backer. I've just got a piece of scrap 5.5mm plywood. You can actually glue a piece of the same size onto the back of there, like so. You got glue in each corner on the back. Stick it down, the same size shape obviously, and you could cut two out at the same time. So you would cut out your top section, and also you're cutting out the piece underneath, and that would give you a perfect match if you wanted that to be the end of your piece. I actually wanted to be slightly wider with mine, so I'm going to use what they call the washer method. You've seen it on my other videos, just a little washer. This one comes off the end of the sanding drum for the Dremel. So when this is all cut out, we'll place it onto our backer. I will put my washer on there like so, and literally draw around the full piece. And if you can imagine this was already cut out, that would be our line there, and we will draw around it like that, and that would give us a nice border of that distance there, and that will go round the full piece. One, it slightly enlarges the piece, and two, I just prefer those backer sections. You could do that a different stain. You could teak on that one, white on top. That will really stand out nice. So I'm going to go for the washer method. But before that, we're just going to cut all this out, back to the scroll saw, and hopefully nothing else will break off. Right, so we've cut out all the way around the piece with that Pegas number 2 spiral blade. I keep remember that. I'm only ever used to using 5s and 3s. So there's our piece all nicely cut out now. Just get these to one side. And I did notice, remember we were talking before about the breakage we had here, and I did notice when I cut into it that it was going around at a nice pace, and then it had a little quickness to it, if that makes sense. Now the reason being is plywood is made up of different layers. Now this is hardwood plywood from my local DIY store, so it's not designed for these kind of projects. I think you want your Baltic birch plywood if you want to be the proper stuff. So these tend to have voids or O's. When they do their plywood, they will put the nice stuff to the top, the nice stuff to the bottom, and the not so nice goes in the middle. And so you do end up with voids and stuff. And if you just see there, there's an hole there, and that runs the full length of that. Couldn't have picked a worse place to go through. And it comes out the other side there. You can just see them two holes. And if I just pop this little engraving bit through there, it runs right into the eye socket there, look. So I'm thinking that's the issue we had with the breakages. But we put a bit of wood filler in there just to fill that in. And on the project itself, you can go all the way around and everything else seems to be fine. You just notice the bottom there, look, a bit of discoloration. Not going to affect the project, but that's the other nasty stuff in between, we'll call it. So yes, that's the reason why that broke there. We've got that hole that runs across the full piece. Not to worry. Only downside with your spiral blades, and they're not for everybody, they cut out fine, no problem. You will get these little fuzzies on the back. If I can just bring that right up to show you, those little fuzzies here. And I've sanded some off already, as you can see here, and it's a matter of seconds. Put it on a nice flat surface, and I'll just go around with your sandpaper like so. You can make yourself a little piece, and just gently, don't get carried away, and then little fuzzies will soon come off, no problem. So they might require a little bit more sanding. I'm not going to remove that tape yet. When I fill these in, there's a slight little hole in there as well, so I'm going to fill all that in, just make it all nice secure before we remove that bit of tape. So now it's time to do the backer section. We'll cut that out, then obviously we can peel all this tape off. So we've got two options. This is the 5.5 plywood, bit of scrap there, and you can literally put your piece on top, and that will give you a rough idea of how thick it's going to be. So you got your 5.5 there and your 3.6s. So let's call that 9mm altogether in total. Well, I think that would get away with that one, to be honest. The other option was going to be the 12mm, and you can see those layers there, look, we were talking about, where the good stuff's on the top and the maybe not so good is underneath. But that looks fine, that piece. Or you could use your 12mm, and we'll cut it out on that. I think that's just going to be a bit too thick, is that? So I'm going to go with the 5mm. I'll cut a piece off so that can fit on, and then we'll come back with a washer and show you how we're going to draw around it. Right, so we've gone for the 5.5mm plywood for the backer. We've got the 3.6mm sat on top. Now we're going to use a washer to basically draw the backer all the way around the full piece. Now, depending on the size of your washer, that will be the distance of your backer from there to there. Now obviously something as big as that, as you're going round, you're not going to get into these smaller areas. So remember the size of your washer. So I just tend to use, like I said previously, that is the one off the end of your sanding drum. So that's plenty for me. That just gives you enough to go all the way around. Now make sure you tape this down. The last thing you want is for it to move as you're going round. So we basically want the same shape all the way around. I'm just going to pop that extra piece on there. We can remove that after we come round to finish it off. So it is just a simple case of lining your washer up. Keep that pressure on all the way around. That washer will disappear underneath there eventually as you're going round. So come here. Just make sure you keep that pressure all the way around the piece. And there is, we might just get in there with one, and that one there, I believe. Not that one, that's part of the armour. Right, let's quickly go around this, and then we'll be ready for cutting it out. Right, so we've made it all the way around with that washer, and if we remove that, you can just see our shape there, and that's the shape we want to cut out, and that should be the perfect shape to make as the backer. Right, we'll cut this out quickly, and when we come back, bit of sanding down, bit of general tidy up, and then we'll look into the painting side of things. Right, so we've made it all the way around, no problems there. That cut really nice, the 5.5 3.6mm plywood. As you can see, we still get those little fuzzies, but they're not as drastic, I don't think. Remember, quick sanding down. That's it, your back is done. So I will go over this, give a little bit of sanding down. And also, I've managed to remove that tape from there. We've put a bit of filler in the sides, just to secure it. Once it's actually stuck down to the template, the backer itself, it shouldn't be going too far. So you see the idea from that. That hopefully will sit on there as the backer piece once all the nice paint and sprays or stains or whatever we're going to use is gone in. But for now, we'll peel off all this tape. Let's go nice and steady. The last thing we want to do now is start brushing this and breaking all these bits off. So we'll take our time with removing the tape. Then we'll sand it back down a bit. Then just a little bit of skim over the top. Okay, I'll come back when it's all nicely tidied up. Right, that's enough sanding down for me. We've done all the front sections, and I like to just round these sections off slightly, and hopefully we've removed most of those little fuzzies off the back there, as you can see. And the same with the backer, just rounded off nicely. And we've checked it all out, and there's no voids, no holes, so that was a nicer piece, was that one. Now you notice here, I've actually put the template on top, show what it would look like when it's finally put in place. So I'll literally just put that on there quickly like so, and I drew inside because we need a red cross on there. There'll be a red cross on there, and I believe there's one over on the glove section there, and these two sections here will be painted white, and the rest of it we're just going to do silver. I was going to do it all black at one time, but we're just going to go a bit daft, use up what paints we've got. Now personally it would be easy to spray this, and I've checked out my little white paint, and that's about empty, so I'm not even going to start with that. I want a bright white, so brush paint it is. Take a little longer. So white for the top section, a nice painter's touch bright red for the cross itself, and there's a silver metallic, and I don't know how this is going to paint on the actual plywood itself, but we don't try these things, you'll never know. So right, we'll start painting all this. Like I say, I've drew the sections out, so there's our little red cross there, and this lot will be white, and then the rest will just be silver down all the sides. And hopefully when we put our top section on, it'll look like something there for what we need. Okay, right, let's start painting this one up. Okay, there's our two bits all nicely painted up. The back section looks a bit confusing at this moment in time, but remember, we're only going to see certain sections through the top cutout area. Now, we'll leave the connection of the two bits just a little bit longer until I've sprayed on some varnish. You know it's coming. Now, the top section being white, and it does have a bit of a shine to it as a gloss, I'm going to leave that one. They do say too much varnish or covering on white could send it yellow in time. Not something I've had an issue with, but I am going to leave the top section, should I say. And you notice on the bottom section, we've gone around with a light teak oil there, the stain, should I say, just to finish the tips off. And remember, as always, get your side walls done. I will actually cover the back of this once we're going back indoors with the same stain. But for now, we're just going to spray this with the varnish. One, just to lighten, darken the edges, should I say. And hopefully, it'll just give it a nice covering. Not too sure about this metallic silver. I would like to go on a little bit darker with that. But it's on now, so it is what it is. So we'll just keep it off the dusty table. I will take it outside in a minute. But for now, we're just going to spray on some varnish. Whatever we've got kicking about. Paint Factory gloss today. It's normally 151. Yacht varnish. It doesn't matter. And the main bits we want are just the edges really. And a little light spraying over the top. Just to darken those sides down. And to say, we give it a go. Right. I'll go outside. Get all those side bits done. And when we come back, we'll be gluing the two bits together. Right, so we gave it a couple of sprays of that varnish there. And you can just see, just enough to make a little bit of a shine on it. And for me personally, it just finishes the project off. Now, the final stage is literally just to stick our top template on, as you can see. So we're going to have to glue the back of this. And for me, just a 151 super glue. Now you might get away with using that on its own. And I will literally just dab, dab, dab. Plenty of little dabs all over. You have to be quick because it will soak into the plywood or to the pine if you're not careful. So no messing about once you start. And just to help it on the way, I do use some of this glue. If I can get some out of there, then I will be happy with this project. So I like to incorporate them both. One, with this one, do the same amount of dabs. And it just gives you a bit more time to position it before that makes contact and it is stuck solid. So I will literally just dab all this on the back, we'll spin it over and then stick it down. Right, that's it. This little project is finished. So we stuck it all down with that 151 glue. No problems there. The thing is with your super glues, you only get the one chance to stick it down. And if it's wrong, you're going to struggle to get it back up again. So make sure you get it right first time. And that would definitely be near enough for our little projects today. So it's a Knights Templar. We cut it out on 3.6mm for the top section and a 5.5mm for the backer board, as we call it, using a Pegas #2 spiral blade. That was the first time for me and I'm quite impressed with those ones there. I've only ever used 5s, then I went on to 3s, now I'm down for size 2, and that certainly cut out no problem. And then we came in with our painter's touch paints on this one. This is still an indoor piece, but these painter's touch are nice for outdoor projects as well. And then we've decided, just for the outer edge, just a light teak wood dye there. Just to make it a bit different. Originally I was going to do the silver right to the edge, but I'm glad I went with the little light teak there. And then we came in with our varnish, of course. You know that was going to arrive. And then if you just sprayed the bottom section, and then we glued it all together with our little 151 glue there. Any glue would do personally. Oh, well, any super glue, should I say. You want to make sure everything is all stuck down nice and solid. And the piece itself comes in at 15 inches by 12 inches across. And that's it, we are finished. So, Knights Templar, cut out with a Pegas #2 spiral blade on 3.6 and 5.5mm hardwood plywood. And for a backer, just remembered there, I did actually put a bit of stain on the back there, I had some left of it. I will glue the backer on here with that super glue. Be careful of your bits because they're quite thin. On one, many moons back, I actually screwed in the hook at the back and it came right through the front. But you only get caught out the once and you don't do it again. So super glue that hang on, or you could make a base for that should you want to. And that's it, we are done. Thank you very much for watching.